I, nearly adult male, am adopted. My birth parents couldn't care for a newborn, and I ended up in foster care because of it. I was adopted by my family when I was 2. I have a very happy life, one I likely wouldn't have with my birth parents. About a month ago, my birth parents got in contact with my family. Long story short, my birth father is sick and needs a bone marrow transplant. They're on a wait list but haven't heard back just yet. I am the only child they ever had, and odds are that I am a match. Pretty much they wanted my parents to get me tested and then donate my marrow to him. My parents told me that it was up to me, and after some thought, I said no. I don't know them, other than they gave birth to me. They have had no part in my life whatsoever, and now suddenly they need me? Well, they sent my parents a nasty message, saying they could use force and have me donate my marrow. I do feel a little bad, but I feel like this isn't my problem. My birth parents didn't lovingly give me up. I was taken. My parents don't know the exact reason that information was never released to them. They were told, and I quote, "It wasn't a good environment for a child." I was taken. Even if they had given me up, it doesn't mean I owe them anything. Not like I asked to be born, like every freaking child on this green earth. Now being born means I'm suddenly in debt to them? I don't owe them anything. I don't care if she spent 8 hours in labor with me. They aren't my family. I have a wonderful family who is supporting me right now. Also, my parents are working on finding out how they even knew where I was, because my adoption was a closed one. They had their rights terminated when I was taken, so they shouldn't say anything about me. I don't know if they're contacting a lawyer or anything. I know they are pretty upset about all of this. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. I donated bone marrow to my sister 5 years ago. It was no small thing. I had complications with the surgery, couldn't walk for 2 weeks, etc. It was really painful. I was going to give you sort of a pep talk about doing it anyway, since you would be potentially saving a life, even if it's the life of a complete stranger. That was until I read the line about how they threatened to sue you to force you to donate. That's the most tragically hilarious thing I've ever read. You cannot force a person to undergo voluntary surgery. You should call their bluff. I'm sitting in my law firm office and imagining someone coming in for a consult on this. I probably assumed they were joking. Forget U.S. law. This contravenes fundamental international human rights doctrines. Any attorney who tried to pull this off would win themselves a date with the disciplinary committee and would be lucky to walk out without being jailed for contempt. I never get tired of the people who boldly threaten legal action while obviously having no idea what they're talking about. Not the idiot. How dare they threaten you like that? There's not a country in the world that would allow them to sue you for your marrow. They gave up all rights to you at birth and are now still not wanting a relationship just for you to undergo a medical procedure to save his life. Way to go, guys. They could have probably asked to meet you to plead their case, but they went nuclear. Ignore them. No need for court. You tell the person testing you that you are doing so against your will and are being pressured. They'll make sure that you, quote, aren't a viable donor. Case closed. This is done throughout many places around the world because doctors know the pressures/emotional blackmail family exerts on loved ones. I, 53 male, want to start by saying that at 21, I got a vasectomy, used protection, and married a woman who claimed not to want children the same as me, but she ended up getting pregnant anyway. It wasn't until after we were parked at the clinic that she broke down and admitted to changing her mind and wanted to keep the baby. I didn't try to pretend that I wasn't angry, and after dropping her back off at the house, I left for a few days. When I came back, I moved to another bedroom and told her that I wanted a DNA test since I was snipped and would be filing for divorce. My wife swore that she never cheated and was hurt that I would accuse her of such a thing. I countered that she told me she didn't want children, so obviously, she's not the woman she claimed to be. Not sure if this was a thing yet or common knowledge, but we waited until after the baby was born to do a DNA test, and I was proven to be the father. I wasn't happy because I knew I'd never hear the end of it from my family and friends if I walked out. I apologized for accusing my wife of infidelity, and she apologized to me for changing her mind. We agreed to stay married because it made sense financially, but I refused to move back into the same bed as her or do anything for our daughter, Lucy, 21, aside from paying for whatever she needed. I told my wife from the beginning that she was the parent and I was the checkbook. My wife hoped that I'd be like her and change my mind, but I didn't. We had to leave the apartment in a city that I loved because the suburbs had a better school district. I had to sell my bike, take a job I didn't like because we needed the extra financial security. And when Lucy developed an allergy, I had to get rid of my dog. When my wife died, Lucy was little, and I was too angry with her to be sad that she was gone because she's the one who this child wouldn't be around to raise her. However, I did accept that for the next 11 years, I'd have to go through the motions and did so. I paid and attended whatever after-school thing Lucy was interested in, hosted parties, took her to places when she asked, but I was never happy. I honestly didn't feel happy until Lucy was a teenager and I got some of the freedom back. Fast forward to now, and Lucy moved back in with me after she needed help leaving a relationship. And let me tell you, this guy was scum. Lucy's friends convinced her to get therapy, and after a few weeks, she approached me about attending a session with her because her therapist feels as if a lot of her issues stem from our relationship. I know if I go, the therapist will probe and ask hard questions that I will be expected to answer truthfully. On the other hand, if the therapist I pay can't help Lucy deal with the harsh truth that I never wanted her, what am I paying for? But on the other hand, I feel like some things should never be said, and no amount of therapy will ever fix. Am I the idiot for wanting to lie? Well, this isn't easy, but you are the idiot. Look, you didn't want kids, I get it, but stuff happens. You are, in fact, a father, whether or not you want to accept it, and that's not your daughter's fault. You have a daughter who lost her mother and was raised by you. You say you were going through the motions. Kids aren't stupid. She probably knew that. In all likelihood, you have not been much of a father, and that's impacted your daughter's life. You owe it to your daughter to do what you can now to help her with whatever's going on. You are the idiot, but in an understandable way. You stuck around, and now you have to do dad things. This other person you created is asking for your help, becoming a better version of herself. Your anger at the situation doesn't excuse you from doing the right thing. Having your own therapy sessions may be worth your consideration. You're carrying a lot of negativity and actively harming others. You might be able to walk through some of that. Yes, you are the idiot here. You mentioned you had the DNA test done, and that is your daughter. Even if she wasn't, you're clearly the only father figure and raised her all of her life. So I don't think throwing it in her face would be productive and would cause severe emotional rifts. But it would be best if you had this conversation privately with the therapist, as you still clearly have ongoing lingering anger issues to address for your own mental health and relationship. My wife is 7 months pregnant. It came as a complete surprise, as my wife has been taking birth control regularly. We had initially planned not to have any kids, but my wife changed her mind after her first ultrasound. I respected her decision, even if I wasn't the happiest about it. I told her that regardless, I wasn't going to force her to make a decision. We had a gender party late because of issues with the global issue, but we finally got around to it. I already was not happy, given the circumstances that I did not want to have any children. I still participated to show support to my wife, though. Once the gender reveal happened, everyone, including my wife, was ecstatic. She went to hug me and I hugged her back, just not with the same energy. She looked at me with a concerned face, but went off to hug some of her friends and family. Once it was over and we got everything put up, she blew up at me, said I embarrassed her in front of her family, and the least I could have done was pretend I cared. I told her I didn't see a point in throwing a party just because of the gender, but she wanted to do it, so I agreed. She said that she understood that I didn't really want to have a baby, but since they were almost here, I should probably lose the attitude already. I responded by saying that since she knew I didn't want the baby, she shouldn't be surprised that I didn't enjoy the baby shower. She supposedly thought the baby shower would change my mind, but was upset that it hadn't. I told her that I wasn't going to apologize for simply not showing any emotion and that she needed to give me time to adjust, especially with a kid on the way. Am I the idiot? I don't think this is a question about who's the idiot. I think your world is changing dramatically in a way you weren't prepared for, and that therapy is almost definitely required. It's not wrong to be freaked out, but you've decided to go ahead with this, and now you need to find a way to come to terms with it. Ideally before the kid arrives, so you can parent your child to the fullest and best way possible. I'm afraid I have to disagree. I think OP should cut and run now, rather than subject his kid to a father who doesn't want them. Let his wife have at least a couple of months to get used to the idea that she's going to be a single mom. Set her up, help her out, but don't be a reluctant father. That's what makes you the idiot. OP, you're not an idiot for being nonplussed at a gender reveal. Gender reveals are stupid. But man, you need to check your attitude. If you are not willing or able to be all in with this kid, remove yourself from the situation and commit to paying child support. I get that you didn't want a kid, but it's happening. You did it, and the kid does not deserve a father who isn't going to give their all. A father whose attitude towards them is "I didn't want you." Your wife is right. You do need to lose the attitude already. If you think you can lift yourself, if you think there's a chance that dad mode will kick in when the sprog is born, then great. But start doing it now, for your sake and your wife's. Wife did it too, though. OP didn't make the baby alone, and she decided to keep the baby, despite both of them being pretty clear that they didn't want kids. She, of course, has the right to change her mind, but she does not have the right to force, manipulate, or browbeat OP into changing his. You're right. OP needs to consider the situation, because his current attitude is the absolute worst possible. If he can't, he can't. But then he needs to pack up and leave before kiddo gets here, because kiddo deserves better than this. But then kiddo deserves better than a manipulative mom, and it doesn't look like he's getting that. I'm a stay-at-home mom, and my husband is a police detective in our local police department. We have a teen daughter, Hannah. Hannah quit her job in a restaurant days ago. My husband is curious and a bit intrusive. He kept bugging and pressuring her to answer why she quit her job, despite her saying she didn't want to say the reason, and insisted it was a simple disagreement between her and her manager, but now it's over. She eventually caved in and told us it was indeed a simple disagreement, and that was it. But my husband kept saying he had a hunch there was more to the story than she's letting on, and kept saying, "I gotta know, I just gotta know." I told him to drop it, and he said, "Why not?" Hannah came home yesterday looking upset, saying her former manager notified her that her dad contacted him to know the real reason she quit. The manager asked her if she told us a different story or lied, but later what she said was true. Obviously, since her former manager confirmed it but thought it was weird, my husband contacted him to ask, especially after introducing himself as a detective, which freaked the manager out. Hannah confronted my husband, and he said she was overreacting big time, and that as a parent, he was concerned something else was going on, and frankly said he didn't believe the story she told about why she quit. She started crying, and he kept telling her she was overreacting, and he had the right to investigate and get facts straight from the horse's mouth, in a sorry, not sorry type of attitude. Hannah ran upstairs crying, and I lost my cool on him and asked if he was happy and proud of his achievement. He repeated himself, saying he got concerned and wanted to know whether she was telling the truth about why she quit her job, and added there was no harm inquiring about and confirming her story, and Hannah will get over it. I said, no, I don't think she's ever going to get over the fact that her dad thought of her as a liar and didn't trust her when she told him the reason she quit, and instead called her workplace to get the truth. I added, asking, "What's wrong with you that you don't trust your daughter?" I bluntly told him he has issues and needed help with being a helicopter dad. He brushed me off, saying we were both being drama queens, and got angry that I told him he shouldn't be surprised if Hannah no longer looked at him the same anymore. He blamed me for trying to make him feel guilty for worrying about Hannah and trying to turn them against each other to appear as the savior to Hannah after causing a divide between them. He added that there was some screw missing in me because I should be as concerned about Hannah as he was, and was hurt that I called him a helicopter parent instead of a caring parent. But people quit their jobs every day, and I don't see what's the big deal. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. He's not a helicopter dad. He's an untrusting control freak. And you nailed it, that his attitude is going to make it impossible for him to have a healthy relationship with his daughter for a long time. He needs help. He needed to hear it straight from the horse's mouth, except he already had, from your daughter, who's the one who quit and is the only one who would know her exact reasoning for doing so. I also don't get what he's so worried about. Who cares why she quit? Is he concerned she was being harassed? If so, she's no longer in that atmosphere. It doesn't sound like he's worried for her. It sounds like he's trying to catch her doing something bad or wrong. He can feel like he has a right to know all he wants. But how pathetic is it that he cares more about exercising those rights than he does about his daughter's feelings, wants, or needs. I don't know where you live, but isn't introducing yourself as a police detective and going after your child's shift manager at a restaurant a blatant abuse of his role and responsibilities as a civil servant? You are not the idiot. Hubby is used to people answering his questions, regardless of whether he has the right to ask them. It makes me wonder how he behaves on the job. The harm in inquiring about her job is how it damages her opportunities to find new work, particularly when a previous boss is contacted. I don't anticipate your husband learning from this lesson. I hope your daughter does and stops telling him anything about her career when she turns 18. I, nearly adult female, was out this afternoon playing soccer with some of my friends. It's at a park, and there are usually other people there, but today it was just us. About 20 minutes in, a lady comes, and she has an old-looking dog, gray face, walked like an old dog. My friends and I ignored them. At some point, they were maybe 10 feet from the edge of the soccer field, and I was passing to a friend, but significantly overshot it, left foot, and it ended up hitting the dog. Neither the owner nor the dog was paying attention, and it hit the dog's back legs and swept them out from under her, and it appeared that she had some injury to her hip or hind leg. I immediately apologized and asked if she wanted help getting the dog into her car, or if she wanted me to call an emergency vet so they would know she was coming. She said no, but asked for my phone number so she could contact me about vet bills. I was a little surprised, and she said I should pay them because I kicked the ball. I refused because I'm not giving my number to a stranger, and she shouldn't bring an old dog so close to a field where things are being kicked around. She got upset and huffed off, and later my friend texted me, "You probably should have given her your number. It was your fault." I probably can't afford to pay them, but I'm a senior in high school, have a part-time minimum wage job, and am saving. Am I the idiot for refusing to pay the bills? You are the idiot because people can't see past the "it's just a dog." We are responsible for the damage we cause, even if it is unintentional. The dog and owner were not inside the designated play area. They had as much right to be there as anyone else. The moment that ball left the soccer field, it was in a public place. When it struck anyone, dog, human, car window, any resulting damage becomes that person's responsibility who set that ball in motion. Not the idiot. You weren't responsible playing soccer on a soccer pitch, and it sounded like she was a bit overly entitled. All pet owners understand that medical bills are a part of pet ownership. Even when kids are technically responsible for paying for such things, very few adults expect children to pay for such things. You are the idiot. You injured an elderly dog and refused to take responsibility. Of course the woman refused your offer to help her put her dog in the car. You can exacerbate injuries by moving the injured party incorrectly. Your excuse that you didn't want to give a stranger your phone number is ridiculous. If your ball had damaged a parked car, I assume you would have left a note with your contact information, because not doing so would be illegal. Not the idiot. If you're playing football on a pitch designated for football, then you were doing nothing wrong, and she must have been able to see a game was going on long before getting that close. You even apologized and offered to help. It's a public area where ball sports are allowed, and if she was walking like 10 feet from the pitch, then that's even more chance you'll get hit by a ball.